All right, so today we're going to be solving equations. So the first thing we need to do is to go back and remember how to do these answers off for our unit circle. So I have my unit circle right here. So remember, sine always goes with your y value, cosine goes with your x value, just like the alphabet. C comes first and so does x. So I'm looking for a y value of negative radical 3 over 2. So you go through here, there's a y value. Oh, we can't see it. There's a y value right here of negative radical 3 over 2. So that'd be 4 pi over 3, and then I keep looking, and then here's another one at 5 pi over 3. So my answer here is 4 pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. So same thing, radical 2 over 2. That is an x, because cosines are x's. An x for radical 2 over 2, that's positive. So right here is a positive x, and then down here would be a positive x. So 7 pi over 4 and pi over 4. And 7 pi over 4. So cosine is a half. So again, that's your x value. So I'm looking for an x value of a half. So right here is an x value of a half at pi over 3. And then down here is an x value of a half. So that's 5 pi over 3. So pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. Sine is your y value. So I need a y value of 0. So I have a y value 0 right here at pi and at 0 or 2 pi. So we have 0, pi, and 2 pi. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be solving all these. So pretend that your sines and cosines are like x's and y's, and we're going to get it all by itself. And then once we have it all by itself, we're just going to look at our chart backwards and figure out where the answer is off that unit circle. And I just put my unit circle away, and I want to get it back out real quick for you guys so I can have it ready to show you. Okay, so the first one here, we're treating these like x's. So you could write this as 3x equals x plus radical 3 if you wanted, if that makes it better. And you're minusing over your x. So you get 2x equals radical 3. Divide your 2. So x is radical 3 over 2, but x was really cosine. So you could also just do cosine of theta. And we'll get the same answer. 2 cosine of theta equals radical 3. Divide your 2. So cosine of theta equals radical 3 over 2. Same thing here, and just know your x equals cosine of theta. So that tells me I want my x values to equal radical 3 over 2. So I'm looking on the chart right here, x values to be radical 3 over 2. So right here at pi over 6, and then radical 3 over 2 right here, 11 pi over 6. So those are my two answers I'm going to write down, is that theta equals pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. So same thing here, subtract my sine theta over. So I get 2 sine theta plus 1 equals 0. I'm going to minus my 1. 2 sine theta equals negative 1. And divide my 2. So we need to know where sine theta equals negative a half. So that is your y value. So where are my y values? Negative a half. So I have a y value of negative half right here at my, is that say 9 pi over 6? That's not supposed to be 9 pi over 6. That should be 7 pi over 6 here. So it's going to be 7 pi over 6. And then it's also negative a half right here at 11 pi over 6. So those are my two answers, 7 pi over 6. And we said 11 pi over 6. All right, so sometimes what we're going to do down here is we're going to factor out whatever's common. So since there's a sine theta in both of those, I'm going to factor out my sine theta. So I'm going to have sine theta, and that will be left with 2 cosine of theta plus 1. Because this is sine divided by sine. So it's like 2 divided by 2 is 1. So sine divided by sine is 1. And then you're going to solve each part of these because it's factored now. So sine theta equals 0, and 2 cosine theta plus 1 equals 0. So cosine theta, so that's your y value. Where's your y value equals 0? And we found all of them right here. So y value equals 0 at 0, pi, and 2 pi. And typically we give you directions that don't include the 2 pi. So make sure you pay attention to your interval. So usually we don't put an equal sign right here. So then the 2 pi wouldn't be included because 0 and 2 pi are the same answers. And this right here, I'm going to subtract my 1 over first and divide my 2. So I get cosine of theta equals negative a half. So that is where are your x values? Negative a half. So I'm going to go through here. Here's an x value of negative a half at 2 pi over 3. And here's an x value of negative a half at 4 pi over 3. So those are our two other answers. So theta is also going to equal 2 pi over 3. And we said 4 pi over 3. So all 5 of those answers would work. This one here, first I want to make this equal 0. So I'm going to subtract over my cosine of theta. So I have sine squared theta, cosine of theta minus cosine. Now I can't actually subtract these because this would be like x squared y equals y. And when I would subtract my y over, those aren't like terms. That's why we're not allowed to subtract them. Instead, what we can do is we can factor out the cosine of theta. So factor out cosine of theta, and I get sine squared of theta minus 1 equals 0. We're going to solve each one. Cosine of theta equals 0. Sine squared theta minus 1 equals 0. So add that over. Right, and then right here, I'm going to have sine squared. So I need to square root both of these sides. So this is going to be sine of theta equals plus and minus 1. So I need to first find out where all my x values are 0. So if I look on the thing, I want x values to be 0. So here's an x value of 0, pi over 2. And here's an x value of 0, 3 pi over 2. So pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. And now I need my y value to be 1 or negative 1. So y value is a 1 here, and y value is a negative 1 down here. So again, that's pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. So the answers just repeated this time. They weren't anything different. So you just have those two right there.